Hi, Suk. Thank you for your time today. It's a great pleasure to speak to you again. As you know, CloseHauled Conversations talks to leaders that are at the edge of affecting change. We'd like to talk to those that are contrarian and on the edge of change, not just those that are going with the flow. We also look to go beyond the sales pitch and to understand the drivers and motivation, as well as the people behind the headlines. We try not to be confrontational, but we won't shy away from asking the questions that most people ask themselves, though maybe not out loud. So maybe to start with, Suk, you're involved in some of the most interesting things in terms of satellites, female STEM education globally through that program. You've just launched the Amos Foundation. You've got a history of being an innovator in change for science and technology all your life. Give us a short introduction to those that don't know you.
Thank you so much for having me here, Brendon. Seriously, it feels very special. And knowing you for over close to 10 years now, I just fall in awe with everything you do. And I'm looking so forward for what the show has to offer with the wide range of people. Wishing the show all the luck and talking about my journey. It has been quite an interesting tech journey. Not the usual linear progression in life, but mine has been more into, say, very non-linear, where I can have different paths in my life. I could define it that way, where one was before marriage, another one is after marriage, and another is after moving to Sydney. So I have three paths, and maybe the fourth one after becoming a mom too. So a lot of career breaks, and here I am, post all that, pivoting, being a techo, taking up sales role, being a sales coach for a telecom company, becoming public a director for public relations and business growth for a media company, and now I'm with Mission Shakthisat. So interesting journey, but yeah.
Very interesting. So tell me, Shaktisat is an all-female mission to send a satellite and then a module to the moon. It's all female. That's a headline catching statement in itself. Um, but I think what's also very interesting for me is the grassroots impact that this is having in 108 countries with female ambassadors and students. These are school-going female students and really having a real impact in terms of sort of motivating STEM research, not STEM research, STEM education in those countries, but also having a vast cultural impact as well. Maybe you want to talk a little bit about that and some of the impact that you're seeing there.
You've rightly pointed it out. 12,000 girls from
Wow.
108 countries across the world. Wow, what a eye-catching statement. It
That's an
also,
achievement in itself, right?
yes, and it is a problem catcher in itself too.
Mhm.
Because why only women? 12,000 girls, 100, like why 108 countries? We have a lot of questions asked because it looks like a no-brainer, right? We're working with 12,000 girls, underrepresented communities. Like we have girls only from the government schools, from the public schools, no private school children involved, zero cost involved. So the girls between the age 14 to 18 get trained for 120 hours for free. And this is such a audacious dream by Dr. Srimati Kesan, who is the only person living in this earth to have launched 27 student-led satellite missions till date. And this is the 28th mission.
That's
And
incredible.
right. And this looks like, wow, it's super fancy. So maybe I would like to ask you this question. Like listening or looking at this headline, right? What are the supports do you think that we will get right away?
Well, I think initially a lot of people will be skeptical, saying, "Oh," and asking a lot of questions. But I would imagine when you tell people you've managed to build a network of 12,000 students across 108 countries, people will say, "Wow, that's quite an impressive achievement already. How do I get behind it to make this a success?"
Ideally, this is how it should be, right? But interestingly, what we see is one, 408 countries coming together. That is beyond, comprehension, and also doesn't it's quite hard for governmental frameworks to operate as well, because we have United Nations saying, wow, you're actually working with more countries than we are having ties with, and it is a nice thing. And off late, I keep telling people I've been invited for many, yes, it is the month of International Women's Day, and we're celebrating the Women's Month, and people congratulate me and say, Suk, you've done a fantabulous job, and I have awards waiting for me to be collected. And I just tell them one thing: hey, just don't applause and, make me that scapegoat to run this whole thing, whole show, because I think there is no need to congratulate or to applaud any one of us, because we are playing our part. So my question is, are you playing your part? Are you all involved? Because 12,000 girls, 108 countries, we are not just bringing, well, we are bringing diplomacy, peace, and, more compassion amongst all the countries participating. But as you rightly pointed out, it is a great cultural exchange. It is a exchange between ideologies and thoughts, because what we see as a fundamental right, so what I mean by that is internet, right?
Hmm.
Everyone has access to it. But there are few countries where having internet is such a luxury. We
Yes.
don't have people having easy access to internet, and we have students like saying, how do we access your curriculum then? Then we have to come up with novel ideas of printing the curriculum in a PDF format and distributing to them, and talking to telecommunication providers where they can give packets of data. So this mission has attracted a lot of interesting problems, and we've worked on interesting solutions as well. For example, when I come up with a mission like this, right? Ideally, the government would be, hey, and when I say government, it is from all the countries. They would be like, this is wonderful. We want the curriculum rolling out. We want all the girls getting benefited. Interestingly, there are different priorities. And I do understand that the problems in the earth takes and problems in the city and streets take the highest order of precedence. But I also feel, well, you do not get opportunities like this, which is completely free. And interestingly, there are very few countries who were able to succeed taking Mission Shakthisat in a very systematic way. What I mean by that is right from Australia to yesterday I was chatting with the ambassador of UK, Kinjal Dave. So she is a senior engineer in BAE, and her approach was she took Mission Shaktisat to nail saloons, to nail bars,
Yeah.
because,
That's
well,
so
yeah.
creative, right? I mean, that really means you understand the target audience that you're trying to approach, right? I mean, to be honest with you, when you first told me that and asked me the question, how would I do it? I didn't think of that, to be honest, but I think it's incredibly creative.
Because I think this mission has taught about creativity. This mission has taught me there are so many gaps in the system. It is not, I'm not getting into the point that is it a conscious, or unconscious, like, it is not something that people do it knowingly that these biases come. But I feel this exists. And how are we going to achieve, like, how are we going to overcome all this? That is the key. So I remember last year, June 15th, we had this all women festival, like where there were about 3,500 women coming together. And it was an Indian Punjabi event called Tiyan the Mela. And all the women were dressed up in the Punjabi suit and sari. And I was like, okay, all women. So anywhere I see all female, all women, my antennas go up, and I'm like, well, we have 3,500 women. So I cut a foam board of an astronaut landing in the moon. And these women, these children wearing all the Indian fancy attire, they put their head inside, the astronaut foam boat, and I have photos of them. And they were very curious. What is an astronaut boat doing at an event like this? Because I felt, and this way we were able to attract 140 students. for Mission Shakthisat in Australia alone. So at the moment, we have over 8,000 girls studying, they're learning. And interestingly, we have the curriculum that is translated in multiple languages. So we
Really?
have
That's
it
very
in
interesting.
French, in Spanish, we have Tamil, Hindi, which is the local languages in India. So I feel there is so much work that has gone behind this Atmanirbhar Trust. Actually, they have come up with this extensive curriculum. We have our ambassadors from Argentina. Abigail, Dr. Abigail, she is completely vetted the curriculum. She is a space scientist herself. We have amazing people from Red Bus, and Sharmila Devi is one of the aerospace engineers, and she's done massive work. We have Dr. Shitij and his team, actually, who's put all the amazing hours. He's a rocket scientist himself, and we're so grateful for every single one of them playing their part to make this whole. It is like this, great dream of Dr. Kaysen, and like we have so many players kind of playing the melody, and we are orchestrating this as a beautiful music. So this music is going to be played on 23rd August this year. So we are hosted by the President of India, Madam herself. So one ambassador from each of these 108 countries, along with the student, will travel to India. And the student will learn how to build a satellite, integrate it, and there we go. We're going to test the 4 satellites. So we're going to have 4 satellites coming to India. Interestingly, Australia has bagged one of that spots. We have Latvia Space Agency, we have Greece Space Agency, and a consortium between Alabama and Purdue University. And we have Macquarie University from Australia bringing their satellites. So we have 4 satellites, and 27 students each will be part of one satellite team. They learn what the satellite will do, how to integrate it, what is about the PCB designing, circuitry, soldering, everything. And they're going to learn about what are the real challenges that their counterparts are facing, because I think that's very important.
Yeah, I get that they'll learn a lot about how to build a satellite and some of the science and technology behind that. But I also see the benefit of, though, when they go back home, you have effectively 108 people or more, because they're ambassadors of a bigger group, basically. That network in itself, is worth something when, as if they stay in touch and as they progress in life. Who knows, in 30 years you could have 108 presidents of countries.
You have nailed it spot on, Brendan, because that is the dream, right? Because this connection should help foster the feeling of world is a beautiful place. We are there for you. It is about the sisterhood, where if there is a problem in one country, we want the other one not throttling the supplies or not making life hard, but we want the other counterpart from this network saying, hey, I'm here to help you. I'm here to make the life in your country really better. Because that is what we are aiming to do. And we really are envisioning them as leaders. They can be like rocket scientists. We can have presidents of the country. We can have prime ministers. And we are very sure that all these students who are chosen are not chosen just for their technical capabilities, but also for the leadership quality, because that is one of the main criteria we have. We as ambassadors request from the students that what is that you're going to do for your country, for your ecosystem once you finish your 10-day program in India. And each one of them, they come with amazing thoughts, because we're talking about countries which do not have space capability. But we are building the pipeline of workforce, we're building pipeline of talent globally. And we are so excited to see what life has in store for them and for the next generation overall.
You talk about fundraising, and I want to talk a little to you a little bit about the Amos Foundation as well.
Mhm.
But This is putting a satellite into space, bringing 108 ambassadors plus students to India. That costs money. So how is this all funded? How is the satellite itself being funded, and how are you funding these getting these students and the ambassadors to India and back, and the whole program? Is it state funded? Is it philanthropic? Is it companies? Give me a little bit of background as to how this is being realized.
Firstly, Brendan, we will have to thank Zoho. So Zoho is the technology platform, the learning management system LMS platform, where we have our 120 hours of curriculum being hosted. And when Dr. Kaysen shared this idea, this mission, it looks too good to be true, right? And people are like, no, yeah, is it even possible? And me, being me, having this is my third global project. So when I heard this, it came to my life at a very perfect timing, where my previous role was with a media company. I was director for public relations and for business growth. And at that point of time, I curated a music competition. It sounds very simple. It's just a music competition, but we were there in three world record books for the complexity of that competition, because it was just after COVID. What we did was we had two physical stages that we built, and we had the anchors communicating like this, but they were communicating from a huge stage which had participants like and hundreds of audience in each of the countries. So one was in Melbourne, another was in Hyderabad in India. So we had the audience there and the singing, like it really went in very smooth. So we had 36 cameras input and output. So you could imagine 36 times 4. That was a level of complexity, but it just went so smooth. So we were there in three world record books and working 20 hours, 22 hours a day. I'm like, I'm tired now. That's
Well,
enough. I'm
listen,
taking a
that's
break.
one thing I know about you is you hardly ever sleep. I mean, it's almost it's 11 o'clock at the night in the night your time. So tell me a little bit about the Amos Foundation, because that's something that you've recently set up, and it's gotten a lot of support, at least from what I can see, from a number of politicians in Australia. You're also doing some of the fundraising for Shakthisat. Maybe you want to talk a little bit about the Amos Foundation, what its purpose is, the link to the satellite program, but also what you're doing besides that.
So AMOS is an acronym for empowering communities of all ages. So we don't want to keep any discrimination, no gender bias, no postcode discrimination. So we want everyone in Australia.
So boys and men can also participate in this one.
Yes, absolutely. So even with Mission Shakthisat, we feel we need more women, because at the moment we have less than 20% of women representing the space tech. But we envision to have a mission for boys for Mars, like how we have girls for Venus, and men are from Mars and women are from Venus. We don't want to go to Venus. So, and Srimati, her name itself has moon in it. The meaning of the name is moon. So I felt, yeah, it's a great cause to join. And with AMOS, it's an acronym for empowering communities of all ages in artificial intelligence, media, emerging fields, robotics, STEAM, and space technology. So that is what AMOS has a name by itself, but it is an acronym, and it's a purely technology based NPO. And I would say it's a continuation of my journey from India. I co-founded a not-for-profit back in India as well when I was 22. It's called the
Yeah.
Robotics and Artificial Intelligence Foundation. And I would say it took 9 years for me to get back to the same tech work I've been doing in India. But this time I feel we were able to address a lot of gaps. Like we have migrant engineers for us, or the supermarkets here, or even they're selling cupcakes. And we're like, you're an engineer, and why are you doing all this? So basically, I feel Amos is a platform which would like to give dignity to all the technologists. irrespective of age. Like if you're a retired technologist or technology enthusiast, still you have a place, because your experience, we don't want it to go waste. And for teenagers, normally in Australia, we have teenagers working for Mecos and Domino's for their, post 10th grade. Like they have to work, they need work experience. And I feel they need to work for technology companies, well, space technology companies. And we've signed up companies on board now. We're breaking the job description into tiny bite-sized modules. It is an interesting journey. And mainly, I would say, Amos Foundation was started because a beautiful mission, a audacious mission like Mission Shakthisat did not find a home in Australia. People are like, Suk, it is beautiful, it's great. But who, you know, I have been running around with this initiative as the Australian ambassador and, well, as a global head of partnership as well. But we need a foundation backing it. We need a foundation supporting it. Because when I say, hey, can you support this mission? Can we raise funds? I can't take the money in my bank account, my personal account. So that is when I felt, the gaps are plenty. And yes, Mission Shakthisat will have a home. So media here have been really kind, because we had the headlines here in Desi, Australia, a local media platform started in 1997. So they mentioned Mission Shakthisat finds a home in Australia. And I felt, I
Fantastic.
love it. So
So
that is the
tell
whole
me, I want to
story.
come back to the financing because you said Zoho is sponsoring, I
The
think you
LMS
said the
platform.
education platform, the LMS
Correct.
platform. I think most people know Zoho as a provider of everything from emails to invoicing and everything else in between. So, social media management tools. I've used them myself in the past, so I think that they're well known for that.
Mhm.
Who's funding the satellite and who's funding the students?
Interesting question. So we've come so far. The mission started by August 2024, and we've come this far. And interestingly, we've been doing things with very minimal funding, because anytime, like when we say, such a big dream, people think, oh, you need so much money. Yes, we are aiming for raising $20 million, because we want to build the lander, the orbiter, we want to mobilize all the girls. But at the moment, okay, if not the lander and the orbiter, we have our Maitri mission. Maitri is a mateship, the friendship between India and Australia. So we have a rocket launch happening in India around the month of October, November. So we are aiming to have a satellite launch around that time, and we are talking for free rideshare, and they're happy as well. So the talks are going on. And to answer your question, when we tell about such great dreams, right? Immediately the first thing is, oh, okay, what's happening with the money? Interestingly, these missions have come in such a huge mission has come this far without much backing.
I must say that's something that struck me. I know that, for example, this is all on a volunteer basis by yourself and many, many others. And I think that obviously has value. It may not have a financial cost, but the value is enormous. I think you certainly have been critical to building that network of 108 countries and all these things that are happening. And if you had to pay that for someone to build that commercially to a marketing agency or an organization, it would cost a fortune.
It'll never
But I
happen,
think
because most of the money would go on that. It'll not, so the cost will get diluted, because it's very high cost, right? So something that this mission has taught me is, I've been into a not-for-profit space since I'm 22. And usually, when people ask, Suk, all this is good, it is all fancy, but what do? You need money. I feel a little tiny, or it'll make me flinch. But with Mission Shakti Sat, I very proudly say we do not take even one single dollar, one single cent. Forget dollar. We don't even take a single cent. Yet we work so hard. We work 2 a.m.s, 3 a.m.s for the 12,000 girls who we don't even know who they are. So this makes me put my head definitely, high. And this dignity is being given to all other ambassadors as well. We all feel super proud that, hey, yes, money is a tool to reach somewhere. Now we are in a stage where, yes, we need money because we have to mobilize the girls to India. So we're starting the fundraiser and Amos, I
How
can't.
much is Amos looking to raise for Shaktisat? How much do you need to get these students and ambassadors to India and back? How much are you raising, and how are you going about that? And where can people contact you to if they wanted to participate?
So 20 million is the whole project fundraiser where we want to build the lander, orbiter, plus mobilizing the students. So just for the mobilizing of students, yes, how we are positioning it is firstly, I can't thank Dr. Srimati Kesan enough for the trust for such a huge win. So I see this as a win for Australia rather than for Amos or just for me. So we have interesting community activation programs that our community is kickstarting very soon. So we have a Stripe link. So Stripe is a platform that we're using, and we have to thank Stripe because they are giving very special rates just for this mission. So
Fantastic.
right, so they're coming on board, and we're using mediums like social media. That's one main thing where we say, hey, you want to be part of the mission? Come. And interestingly, like every day as I put the stories and status and reels, I have people that I don't even know connecting and saying, hey, how do we contribute? So Dr. Srimati Kesan came with a very interesting idea of $1 to the moon campaign. So what we mean by that is, well, one way is going to a corporate and say, hey, pay me a million or two. It kind of looks easy, but we're very particular with the data of the girls who are involved. Because with a lot of unpleasant things happening around the world, and me having a daughter myself, I actually consider all these 12,000 girls as my daughters too. And we don't want to compromise. We don't want to be, for any reason, give out the data to, any sponsors to anybody because we don't know how they're going to handle it. And these are all girls. So we felt when you're going to do a crowd fundraiser, people have that responsibility of, well, I've paid that dollar, I've paid those $2. What's happening with the mission? I want to know more. So this makes us as a collective winner, and it's easy. $5 from a
Will
person.
you do a crowdfunding campaign on GoFundMe or something like this, or other platform, or is this all happening word of mouth? I suppose the second question is, besides crowdfunding, what are you approaching companies to look for sponsorship? I understand the sensitivity about the data, but 20 million is a large number to raise purely by crowdfunding. So talk to me a little bit about, first of all, what your ambitions are on the crowdfunding side, potentially, if you're doing that or not, and whether there's a formal program related to that. And also, corporate entities, how can they get involved, and, what's in it for them? Because I can well understand, as you say, if somebody comes along and says, look, I'll sponsor this, but I want all the girls' details, you're going to be very suspicious. I wouldn't give it to them either.
So to answer your question, right, we have 108 ambassadors. So now we've started interviewing the ambassadors because that is a very important key thing because each of the ambassador, they come up with their message of. So if you break everything down, say for example, lander and orbiter, okay, let it take time. So we need money only to mobilize the girls now at the moment. That is very important, right? So if you're going to break it down, it works out to be roughly about $7,000 to $8,000 per country.
To get
And
an ambassador and a student
to
to
travel to and
India,
from.
house them, feed them, locate, and then and have them go back.
So say even it's going to be $10,000 per country, right? So how we are positioning this is, yesterday she was telling, your heart should be in the right place. That's very important. So she's like, yeah, know where your heart is and it better be in the right place. That is the campaign that she wants to run because with a lot of war, with unpleasant things happening, she's like, yeah, we are doing this for a cause. So each of the ambassadors have their own message to their audience. And another way of approaching this is there are a lot of travel agencies. There are, we are only thinking about technology companies, but we have a lot of small, medium companies who really want to come forward and help. because people are ready to pay so much money for a cruise experience, for bungee jumping, or you name it. Why are people doing that? They want to leave behind a legacy. They just want to leave behind, yes, have a great feeling of accomplishment. And we want to give that through our mission. So we are breaking our expense down, and an entire 20 million
Fundraising
looks big.
at the top level for the entire mission, but you've also got 108 micro fundraising initiatives, for each country to basically fund itself through their own local initiatives. And is that is each ambassador or each local organization responsible for raising their own, say, $7,000 or $10,000? Otherwise, they can't attend, or is there some kind of cross subsidization if people can't reach the goal that's set?
So I would say for an ambassador to have financial goals is really pressurizing. So from the start of the mission, we've been telling to our ambassadors, you should enjoy this journey. We don't want any pressure on you. And we are sticking to the word even now, like where the interview is for creating awareness, not for them to have a set goal where, they go fetch money. Because we do understand it's quite hard. So we're making this a global canvas. People can choose, like, say, one interesting strategy is Australia is home for over 200 nationalities. And literally anywhere in the map you point out, we have a local embassy here, and we have, their population living in Australia. So what we are kind of doing as well is, hey, do you want to support this? You choose which country you want to support, and people now are spreading the word. Activation is
Interesting.
happening,
Oh, very
and
interesting.
yes,
So the local communities in Australia you're approaching and saying, look, you come from this country, would you be willing to sponsor this, something towards having your country represented in India for the space program?
or even like you can connect to your people, and even the ambassadors, all we request them is spread the word, put that in your story, in your status. And when you do that, it's actually surprising to see how people are coming forward and saying, hey, I want to help, I want to contribute. So it is happening. We are not giving a
So tell me,
chance.
how do you go after the corporates then? I mean, are you also talking to companies? Obviously, you have Zoho doing the LMS and the education side. But, what do you say? And are you looking for corporate or other larger foundations, family offices? Don't want to sound crude, but, what are you offering to them and how do you get them excited in this? Obviously, there's the goodwill, and you've talked a lot about that. But I can imagine that, having also worked in some nonprofits related to the polar regions, etc., it's not easy always to convince organizations to part with their dollars, euros, or whatever the case may be. So I think they typically look at what kind of exposure. They obviously look at the goodwill, but what would you say to companies, family offices, philanthropic organizations or foundations? What do you say to them through this, or in general, to get them really excited about helping to make this a reality?
So one thing, which is very evident is exposure to all the
Mhm.
108 countries, that whoever joins the mission, like, doesn't matter how big or small, we feel every contribution is really important. And yes, we acknowledge them in our websites, and we are building mascots. We are sending back souvenirs to these girls when they go back to the country. We want them taking back goodies for the other children as well. So for corporates or family offices who are going to come on board and support us, we would love to carry your name that will live longer. So yes, goodwill is one thing, but I think it's all about the legacy, about your name being remembered for generations to come. Because these girls, they are the first of their generation to get such an opportunity to come to another country, learn something like this, and they're going to remember this forever. And we promise they'll remember you too.
Look, I'm going to ask you for the details on the web address for both the mission and also your foundation on the fundraising campaigns, etc. So just to finalize, when do you think this mission's going to go live? When do you expect to launch? Because I can imagine there's still a bit of work to be done to get this before it's ready to go out.
So once the girls come and we finish the integration, I'm not crying, I just had cough. Or maybe I'm getting emotional. So once we have the integration rolling through, we'll have the testing. And post the testing, well, it looks like October 11th is a tentative date that we might have the satellite flying on the PSLVs. But you know how it is with the
Yeah, no, literally.
actual.
So besides money,
Mhm.
what other things are you looking for from people? I mean, obviously, Zoho did the LMS system. There have been a lot of people who've contributed towards the training. Money is always useful because you can buy things and you can pay for things. But are there other ways companies or other organizations can get involved?
I would love for media companies, doesn't matter how big or how small they are, or they could also be an influencer or an individual. Forget anything. They could be an individual who says, hey, I love this cause and I want to spread this word, right? We would love to talk about this mission and spread it to their network because you never know who's watching it, and we strongly believe everyone has a part to play, and it's very crucial and it's very important too. So, media houses, media influencers, or anyone, who feels, well, I want to be part of the mission, I want to spread this word, take it to my community. Because anyone who thinks, well, I want to leave a part of myself in the space or in the lives of these 12,000 people are welcome. So a lot of work, needs to be done. Money, I would say it is, yeah, it is one part, but more the people know about the mission, it really makes it easier. So, people can follow a Mission Shakthisat LinkedIn page. We have Space Kids India and Amos Foundation LinkedIn page. So please follow us. And
Spread
I
the
should
word
also
and click
mention,
and like and all the good things that
right.
helps a little bit as well, costs you nothing.
And I should also mention about you, Brendan, because you've taken that time, you've taken that effort, and we are re recording this actually, to be honest, because we had the first episode and a lot of things have happened with Amos Foundation taking up this role, and you've been kind enough to invest your time, to invest your energy with, yeah, let's scrap this and let's do it again. So I would say, please do support, subscribe to the channel here. I think Brendan would actually, yeah, because it is very important,
You're
like
too
you.
kind, but to be honest, I'm a big fan. We've known each other for many years, and I also talked many times to Dr. Kazan, and I think her mission is very interesting. And I got it right up front. This is not just about going to space; it's about the impact that this can have globally. And the real grassroots impact. And I think, I got to know her through you, and I know how hard you work on this. So I think that also inspires people, and certainly it inspires me. Both of you inspire me as well, because I see how much work that goes into this, and I see how much you've achieved, and the fact that you're achieving that with really, really impressive means in the sense of efficiency and all that sort of stuff. And I think this is certainly worth something worth supporting. I think you are both leaders, and and that's why also I wanted particularly to have you on as the first person that I talked to in this series of conversations, because it's really about making change. It's the people who are making change, who are doing things differently. That's why also, I call this close hold, which is a sailing term for when you're really going as close to into the wind as you can. And if you went any closer, you couldn't sail anymore. And so that's really what I'm looking to speak to, is people who are looking to make change, but are on the edge of that change. They're not on the comfortable edge, shall I say, or they're literally pushing the edge. And I think that that's something that you're doing. This is very controversial, maybe in some communities, about educating girls, and I know you've talked about some of the impact on that. So I think while it's a flashy, mission to space, there are some really interesting, say, second tier and third tier benefits to this program. So I wanted to very much thank you for being on this conversation, and hopefully, people see it. And if enough people see it, like you said, you don't know who's watching, and it would be great to be able to be of some assistance in getting this thing to be successful.
Totally. Thank you so much, Brendan. Wishing you all success for this episodes, for this one and for the ones coming up. And please do follow the channel and subscribe, because this is one of the simplest things that you could do to spread the word, to spread the kindness, and it matters a lot for every one of us involved.
Thank you, Suk.